activities of an organization are well monitored, are fair, and such programs are meeting the needs of the customers, of the clients, and they are meeting the expected aims and objectives. It's not an organizational mechanism that affirms the functional roles of the super boss. Patricia mentioned that who is an IQA, person that's in charge, a nominated individual, a supervisor or manager, but this person is not a super boss. He just has a direct responsibility to perform the role of an eagle eyes to see what could go wrong or what should be in place. Also, it is not a system to ensure that anyone or super boss is in place. Rather, it is working together, collaboration, ensure that the trainers or the facilitators or the assurers and the trainees have value for their money. Thank you.
Okay, so now let us look at the role of an IQA. What I'd like us to do, let's spend 5 minutes. So we've talked about quality assurance. We've talked about the fact that quality assurance is not about getting somebody to come in to be a spy. We also looked at the training cycle. So from your understanding so far, let's use the chat box. Let's all stop for 5 minutes and put some questions down in the chat box, just for you now to identify the role. So if you are nominated by your supervisor to be the IQA for your organization, what are the expected roles? What do you think you are required to do? So let's all go to the chat box and look at that in a sec. So 5 minutes, please check chat box. So let's open the chat box. Yeah. So can we get as many comments as possible, please, in the chat box? You have been nominated by your line manager to be the IQA for your organization. What do you think your roles will be? What do you think you'll be expected to do? Just 5 minutes for that, please. So what we are doing here, we are using the chat box to put some answers down of what you think your role would be if you are appointed or if you are nominated as the IQA for your organization. Michael, could you put something? Can you kick it off, please? Yeah. Thank you. To ensure staff are helping learners. Absolutely. To assess the performance of, yes, very good. The performance of facilitators. Yeah. Yeah. To monitor. Yes. Yes. To review. Good. Let's have a few more, please. Everyone, I'd like everyone to try and put something down. You have been nominated. What do you do? What do you think you are expected to do? I want to see things around planning. What is it that you'll be planning? Let's put something on planning. Yeah. Standards are met. Yes, good. To audit. Yes, to monitor standards. So there's a lot here on monitoring. Let's also put something down around planning. What is it you are going to plan? Plan. Yes, good. Develop indicators to track. Excellent. Yes, I'm liking that word track. Very key. Compliance. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we are going to look at 2 more to assess the performance of staff. Okay. Yeah. Don't forget, you're not the super boss, but there is something that you are doing with staff. Good. Set targets. Yeah, but not appraisal. I like that one, to set targets, but don't forget, we are not appraising staff. Okay, to achieve organizational goals in terms of what? So organizational goals in terms of, yeah, something. To determine metrics to put in place. Yes, so we could do that, metrics and rubrics. Room for improvement, absolutely. To set objectives, training objectives, and then just checking that those objectives are being met. Yes, we're going to do 2 more minutes, and then we will come back to the slides. Monitoring activities, absolutely, thank you. Curriculum planning, yes, yes, because we did say it's to monitor teaching, learning, and assessment. So there's a bit of curriculum involved. Yes, replanning, yes, this is our evaluation. So you've gone around the training cycle, you evaluate, then you find out that something is not working right. So you plan and then you replan. I agree with you there. Yes, Abdul, I agree with you, absolutely. Okay, 2 more, and then we'll go back to the slides. Set objectives. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Now let us go to a standard requirement, the standard rules of an IQA. Right. The role of an IQA. So as a minimum, your role as a nominated IQA involves the following. Definitely planning. So you are going to plan what you are going to monitor. You are going to include in the plan who you are going to monitor and when. Okay, so as absolute minimum, who are you going to monitor? So it's planning on what you are monitoring, who you are going to monitor, and when. Planning is so important. If you remember the old adage that we go by, failing to plan is planning to fail. So because of the importance of quality assurance, an IQA must be somebody who is good at planning. And your planning, firstly, is a plan to show who you are going to monitor. We will go back to, we're going to look at the who later on, but let's just still use the word who at the moment, and when. Most of the answers that was in the chat today was about observation. So as an IQA, you will at certain times observe your trainer, your assessors, your teachers, your lecturers, anybody who delivers training or teaching. As an IQA, observation is one of your key roles. So remember when we said plan what will be monitored from whom? From whom is the person that you are going to observe. So it's about observation of the trainer and the assessor, and then your ability to provide developmental feedback. So you are not just observing and going away, but you are observing so that you can provide developmental or supportive feedback. Any IQA that provides feedback that is damning or damaging to the trainer, to the assessor, should not be in that role. Your feedback should be always developmental. It's always, thank you very much, that was a great performance. How did it go? So you've gone to observe somebody delivering training. That was great. How did it go? What would you do differently? And then you have all of this written down. So developmental feedback is key as one of the functions of an IQA. Another word that I want to introduce you to is sample. As an IQA, you will sample the work of your trainers. What are you sampling? You are going to sample their assessment. You are going to sample their training records. You are going to sample their assessment decisions. We're using the word sample here because you are not going to look at everything. You are just going to take a sample. In the UK here, it's usually suggested that you do 30% sampling. So you are not looking at everything. Again, for you to determine what you are going to sample, there are some considerations. What we mean here
that
is,
we are not seeing the slides.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I'm going to reshare again. Can you see it now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You can see the slides now.
Yes.
Okay, that good. Sorry about that. So I'm looking at the bullet point on sampling. Sampling. So as an IQA, one of the things that you are required to do is to sample assessment, to sample records, training records, to look at the training work, the work that has been produced at some point, and assessment decisions. We have used the word sample here because we're not asking you as an IQA to look at all the samples or to look at the entire work that is being produced. You are only going to take a sample. So I'm giving an example here in the UK and in other places where, you know, the role of the IQA is entrenched into the activities of the organization. It's usually suggested to sample 30%. If you've got a new assessor or a new trainer, you may want to look at 100% of the assets or the trainer work, just to build confidence that you are confident about what they are doing. So it could be 50%, it could be 100%, it could be 20%. So the call is yours. As an IQA, you determine the sample, but at the barest minimum here, we start with a 30% sample, and then give or take, if you have somebody who is really good, then you may sample just 20% of their records, the training work, or their assessment decisions. As an IQA, you are expected to at least meet with your trainees or your clients or your students, however you refer to them. The IQA will meet with the trainees and then just try and determine from there how training is going, what they want to continue. So there's this thing about what you want to stop, what you want to continue, what you want to start. So the IQA will gather those information so that when they do their evaluation, they can see what's going on well and what's not going on well. Again, one of the roles, key roles of an IQA is to carry out standardization. Standardization is a form of meeting that the IQA would have right at the beginning of, before training starts. And at standardization, that is where you set the standard that is expected. That is why it is known as standardization. Just like you would have your normal meetings in the workplace, where the manager will have meetings with the team, the assessors, the trainers, you would have a particular one called standardization, where you are all agreeing as a whole, as a team, on the standards that you expect. So that when the IQA goes in, the IQA is checking that the standards that were agreed at standardization meeting is being adhered to. And then finally, as a barest minimum, there is support requirement from IQA to trainers to assessors. So all the time you are there as a pillar to support so that everyone grows. Now, these roles that I've listed to you, there are different documentations that must be completed for each of the processes. So for example, we talked about standardization here. There's a standard template, which I'm sure you have all received. It was sent out yesterday, templates for you. The standardization template is something that you can modify to suit your organizational needs. So what we are basically saying here is, yes, standardization has taken place, and this is what we standardize, and this is what we agreed on. So where we said that the IQA will meet with trainees and trainers, there is a checklist. I'm sure you've seen that as well, a checklist for you to check, to complete for that process. The sampling, there's a sampling checklist as well, which you may have received. Again, it's something that you will be looking at as part of the documentation for the role of the IQA. So just again to go over the training cycle that Michael went through with you today. Within the training cycle, the IQA has role to play within the training cycle, because at each point of the training cycle, there's an activity happening, a quality assurance activity happening. And that's what the IQA is ensuring that is in place, a training activity happening. So let's very quickly go through each of those activities that is expected to happen. So let's go back to the other slide, please. Yes. Okay. So if you look at this slide here, the training cycle, we said identify the product or service. We talked about planning. We talked about activity, decision-making, evaluation. Again, let's stop. Let's reflect. Having looked at the role of the IQA, what do you think the IQA should be doing at planning stage? Just pick any of the stages, ladies and gentlemen. Stick something for us in the meeting chat. What you think, again, you are the nominated IQA. What do you think should be happening at planning? What do you think should happen at, when it says activity, what IQA activity should take place? Let's give ourselves a few minutes to look at that and just reflect. Don't forget, you are the nominated IQA. You haven't been on this course, but you have been given that training cycle. What do you think you would do? There's no right or wrong answer. I just want us to, be able to determine what could happen. 5 minutes, please, ladies and gentlemen. Stick something in the meeting chat. Just stick something there. So you can take that one.
Okay, that's good. Somebody have said set baseline data, conduct needs assessments. Any other thing at the planning stage? Use the chat box to respond, please. Okay, develop a standard template for monitoring. During planning, you determine the objectives of the QA. Set logistics, yes. At planning stage, an IQA should be able to conduct research on audience or participants.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Set goals and objectives of the training programs. Broad consultation with stakeholders and main clients. Yes, that's good. You should be able to reach to all the stakeholders, both the participants, both the clients, the trainers themselves should be aware of what to do.
Okay, let's go back.
Okay, you need resources. Okay, identification and selection of content. All right, yes, these are all what planning stage entails.
Okay, so if we go back to the stage, next one, please. Okay, so if we go back here, you will get this presentation later. So I'm just going to whiz through a planning stage, which you can all see here. What we expect the IQA to do now is to devise a sampling plan. Devise a sampling plan. I'm sure you've got the template for sampling plan. So that's where you do your sampling plan. Then the next in the quality cycle is the activity. So what activity will the IQA undertake here? An example of an activity that could be undertaken at this stage is observation. when I've spoke to some of my colleagues, your colleagues in the training here today, a lot of you have talked about lesson observation, training observation. Yes, that is a quality assurance element that you are undertaking, and that takes place at the activity stage of the training cycle. Then you've got your decision and feedback. So this is the stage at which you feedback to your colleague that you have gone to observe, or even indeed the trainee that you've seen, and then ensuring, like we said, that your feedback is developmental. You know, there's always and constructive in the sense that you want to give feedback that is beneficial. So it might be an aspect about the work of the trainer or the facilitator that needs improvement. This is where you support them with beneficial feedback. And then you close the loop of the training cycle by doing an evaluation. And all of this that we've just gone through now, they are templates, very simple templates, just to record that these activities have taken place. Don't forget, we are saying that this is the role of the IQA, internal quality assurer, the person that works internally in the organization. So it's got to be somebody in the organization doing all of these things here. So we did talk about the documents that I did mention to you, that at each stage there are documents to be used. Let's now go back to look at the documents that you were sent yesterday. Let's pick each of them, and then let's also identify when you'll be using those documentation. Over to the ID.
Okay, thank you. So why documentations? Because people might just feel that, well, this is just a paperwork. It's going to increase another load of work. But no, you cannot have quality without evidence. There must be an evidence to show that the quality assurance has taken place. So, reasons for documentation: it allows evidence of action taken. It allows consistency and standardization of practice across MDI. Someone is in Ilorin, or someone is in Ghana, or someone is in Gambia, and is organizing the train the trainer in Nigeria. There should be a consistent method and documentation to monitor such program. So those in Ilorin, or those in Lagos, or those in Gambia or Ghana or Liberia should not be doing something different. And that is why you have something like the centralized examination system, where whatsoever you have from GCSE English in Ghana is the same thing that you have in Nigeria. So that is the essence of allowing reasons for documentation. Documentation also allows guides and structure, guidelines, because without structure, then anyone can just adopt what they like. But when there is a documentation, there is a guideline, there is a structure. Structure enhances good practice. Also, it offers opportunity to give feedback that is constructive and structured. Earlier on, Patricia was talking about giving feedback to enhance the group practice of the trainers. Here, what documentation helps to do is to ensure that every step that has been noticed that needs to be improved are well documented, so that the trainer can go over, can have the opportunity to go back and look at what has been put down as areas of developmental areas, and at the same time to offer feedback. And this is a good practice that could be referred to through documentation, and is an international standard everywhere that you can be able to see. So having look at this now, Other features of quality assurance documentations is it must tailor towards organization visions and mission. Just what the responses we made the other time, people talk about ensuring that QA aims at the organizational mission. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely. Other features that your documentations and other documents must have, it must aim at agree standard. That is why you have what we call standardization that Patricia has talked about before. These are A, B, C, D, the standard we want, and therefore those key parameters or KPI, the key performance indicators, must be in a document. It should be relevant to the training. If we are having trained the trainers, or we are having assertive training, or we are having gender development training, such documentation to capture areas of key performance must be relevant to the training. Then it's a planning document. We must equally ensure that the language and the terminology there is very relevant and accurate so that we don't send out a wrong information, especially for where support is necessary. And please let us realize that it's a working document. It's not a perfect document. It's a document, it's a working document that everyone will have to agree on. If you have understood me, can you just give me a response on the chat box, please? Just a thumbs up to say yes, you understand what I've said. Okay, thank you, Mike. Now we are going to look at this in a practical term now and go into a session. And that is going to looking at the case study. We have sent the case study. I'm sure everyone has received the case study. We'll go into the breakout session now. And in the breakout session, you need the documents that have been sent earlier. I'm sure WAMDEVIN had sent the documents earlier. So please, if you have received the document, let's see the response that you have received the document. Then we'll go on to analyze. This is what you are going to analyze. We have 30 minutes to do that. We're going to be using 15 minutes. Then we'll come back to give response on all these questions. So we're going to go on breakout session now.
You will find yourself being moved from this main forum to a smaller group where you will very quickly discuss the case study that's been sent to you. And then there are three just quick questions for you to reflect on, and then nominate somebody from your group who can very quickly feed back to us. So just give us a second so that we can activate the breakout session where you will.
Please. Can we all hear the voice, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can.
Yes.
In order to assess whether a specific learning process is credible and connected to its quality, depending upon the subject, you will internally quality assure. You will usually follow the internal quality assurance cycle. The cycle will continue to ensure the assessment process is constantly monitored and improved. Records of all activities must be maintained throughout to satisfy your organization, the regulatory authorities, and all organizations. A good IQA system will start with a rationale. This is the reason why IQA takes place and ensures activities used are safe, valid, fair, and reliable. In order to put into practice the IQA process, a few points are necessary. Assess our competences, ensure the necessary experience to set up learning programs, communication with learners, continuing professional development, equality and diversity, ensuring all assessment activities embrace equality, inclusivity and diversity, ethics, ensuring the assessment and IQA process is honest and moral and takes into account confidentiality and integrity. Record keeping, ensuring accurate records are maintained secure and confidential throughout the learning, assessment and IQA process. SMART, ensuring all assessment activities are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. IQA system require many different roles and responsibilities. Developing a proper plan requires energies and deep planning. That's why you should look at our material on
Okay, can you give a response
So I've got my essay
on
written.
the chat what you think you've got from that clip? Just give us a response, what you think you've had from the clip. No. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if we ask the question, if we say one of the roles or functions of an IQ is to ensure consistency. So you as a nominated IQA in your organization, how would you ensure consistency? Let's use the chat box. How would you as an IQA ensure consistency? Moderating, yes, good, Michael. Yes, you ensure consistency by moderating activities. Yes, absolutely. Any more?
And I've been working on it for about
Any more?
So now I'm going to
Measurement, good. Okay, now there's a question I'm going to ask you. We've introduced one word today, sampling. Sampling. What are you as a nominated IQ expected to sample? Again, let's use the chat box. This is our question and answer. Yes, I've seen feedback. Random sampling. What do you mean random sampling? So you are now the nominated person. You've been asked to sample. What is it you are going to sample? Data, yes. Okay, good. You are going to sample data. What sort of data? What data are we sampling? Evaluation forms, yes. Anything else? Opinion of learners, good, yes. So you will meet and obtain feedback, good. So the word we are going to use here is feedback from learners. So we moderate or we sample feedback from learners, absolutely correct. The training methods used, I agree with you, level of understanding, yes. So this is just, I'm just going over the roles again of the IQA, how you will, we are now looking at your reflection. So we've talked about sampling, we've talked about monitoring. What about standardization as an IQA? What does that entail? Again, everyone, please try and put stuff in the meeting chat. What are you going to standardize? Okay, lessons learned, good. The training objectives met. Yeah, but let's not use that word standardization. What are we standardizing?
Well, Pat, I don't know what I can make input here. I don't hear from any of us that we also need to sample and standardize even the manual.
Exactly. See, that's why I'm pushing. What else are we standardizing?
Whether I can quickly be permitted to share an experience here.
I think you should jump in here, Dr. Lowell. Let's look at that standardization, what it means, because it's a key role of an IQA. I think that bit here needs to be explored further.
Yes, thank God. Go on, sir. My mentor, my teacher who did it to me, who taught me, is also here today, Dr. Mrs. A.O. WAMDEVIN.
Yeah.
I appreciate your presence with us all the time. Several years back when she was with us as my head of department, anytime we want to run programs, then my wife was involved in photocopy. So she will give me the assignment, go and do the manual, go and do the photocopy of the manual. But when we bring the manual back, my mentor will pick some of this manual and look at them one after the other to see whether they are neatly photocopied or not.
Yeah.
And if there is any problem with anyone, it will be rejected. So anytime this assignment is given to me and I give it to my wife, definitely I myself must be involved. In fact, we will go and buy new toner. We will buy new blade for the photocopy machine, because I know that my mentor, my teacher will always check. Yes. He will look at it. So it's not a matter of you giving manual that is turned upside down and you say you don't know.
Yeah.
Even when we are within the age now that we are using soft, you can ensure that all the materials you are giving are updated. They are not plagiarized. They are not things that you just cannot attest to the quality.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just going to pick on what you've just said. I'm just going to add a few to it. So if we go back to when we discussed the role of the IQA, we talked about setting standards. These are the standards that we expect. So for example, if there's going to be a training on manual handling or anything at all that you are used to, there should be an agreed standard for this particular training, whether it's being delivered in Lagos, it's being delivered in Accra, it's being delivered in Ghana. So a standard has been set, and that's what everybody is going to adhere to. So it's not just about that as well. It's also about what you've just talked about, which is the quality. As an IQA, you work with eagle eyes, because at the end of the day, if there are gaps, you are the one going to be held accountable. It's a role for people who have good eyes, people who pay attention to details. When I used to be the head of curriculum in one of the biggest FE colleges in London, my staff used to come to me and say, can you take a look at this? So if we're having a big event, we're having Ofsted coming in, they bring their work. Can you take a look at this? Act as a critical friend. Please, check it, make sure I've dotted my I's, I've crossed my T's, just like your wife would do, Dr. Lowe. So somebody who can be honest with you and say, this should not go out. There's an error here, there's an error there, and do this. Why don't you try this? So those kind of things really are what is involved in standardization. Ensuring that everything is neat, proper, standards have been set, and the standards are agreed that will be met. So that's the aspect of standardization. As most of us are in this session today, you're beginning to ask yourself, can I be an IQA? Can I be an IQA? Yes, you can be an IQA, but you must be willing and have the time to pay attention to details.
Even
There's
also the training objectives. You look at training objective set and you start asking some basic questions that does not align with what you intend, the content. It's not, I mean, all these are parts of what we just overlook and then we think.
But so that in the training, so when you have, that's one of the things the IQA will do. The IQA will check that the objectives align with the training objectives. It aligns with the mission and vision of the organization. So there's an alignment really, so that we come across and then we are perceived as professionals in what we do. So it's somebody who is there really within your organization giving you this feedback is what is expected. Right. So we're going back to the case study, Dan Gamble, when the intention is to use the breakout function, but for some reasons, Dr. Lowe, we cannot, it's not activated on our laptop. I don't know why not. Can we be given the hosting rights, please?
Hello?
Yes, can that be activated for us, please?
Can we activate it from our side?
Yes.
Okay, give us the next 1 to 2 minutes. We quickly do that. Thank you.
Okay then. Okay. But in the meantime, we are showing the case studies up there now for people to recap. And I think a copy has gone out to everyone anyway. So everyone here has a copy of the case study, and you also have the question. If we are able to activate the breakout room, then we will work in groups. So we're doing a bit of pair work here. But if for any reason it doesn't work, we'll go to plan B, which is for us to have a quick look at it individually. And then just, you know,
you have been giving the hosting right. Probably you can retry now from your end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Try.
And if it doesn't work, then let's know.
1 second, please. Okay, unfortunately, it does not seem as if it's activated, but not to worry. Let us go to our plan B. We wanted to do group work. So group work is not happening because for some reasons, breakout room is not featuring on the system. So it's going to be individual work then. So everyone, please, we will leave this case study, spend some time, look at the copy that you've been given, or look at what's on the whiteboard. Yeah. And then the next, again, you should have a copy. There are questions. There are questions. I will just go over the questions so that there's an understanding of what is required. Okay, so this is what you are required to do. Having looked at the case study, put yourself inside into what the qualification is, and then that's it really. So here in the UK, if you want to be an IQA, it's something that is taken seriously. There are 3 units that makes up the qualification. People may decide to do just unit 1. Unit 1, understanding the principles and practices of internal quality assurance. So for that unit, it's just knowledge base, it's theory. So you'll be given handouts, you'll be given things to read, and then you can just go sit, do the exam. You'll be graded, and that's your unit 1. You're already an IQA. Now, if you want to do a bit more, IQA. Do a bit more, you will be awarded a qualification, and that qualification is known as Award in Internal Quality Assurance of Assessment Practices. So this one is theory and demonstration, 2 units, and you get the award. Now, if it's an organization that already has a few quality assurers, you may want to have one person who is the lead. So for the one person who is the lead, will need to do one, which is theory-based, unit 2, which is demonstration, unit 3, another demonstration, and unit 3 is called plan, allocate, and monitor work in your own area of responsibility. So it's also demonstration, 3 units, and what you get is certificate in leading. So you are not just an IQA, but it's a certificate in leading. So you are a lead internal quality assurer. So that is the step, that is the pathway for anybody in the UK who wants to become an internal quality assurer. You do those 3 units. Similar to this, you also have the same qualification for people who want to be an external quality assurer. So again, 3 units, but looking at it from an external perspective. And the service that it also contains things like the service that the support that you'll be able to render the organization when you go and visit, the preparation, all of those things. Luckily, I am a lead internal quality assurer, so I've done the 3 units and I've got the certificate, and I'm also a qualified EQA. And my other colleague as well here is rounding up his internal quality assurance qualification. So that's where we are really. For more information about the qualification and anything else, I think we can refer to Dr. Olowe, who will be able to provide you the answers. But I think we are running something similar to those 3 units later on in the course of the year. It's up to Dr. Olowe. So that's where we are really, and that's where our presentation ends.